The Fight Club mechanic is standing on the gas, raging behind the wheel in his quiet way, and we still have something important to do tonight. One thing I'll have to learn before the end of civilization is how to look at the stars and tell where I'm going. Things are quiet as driving a Cadillac through outer space. We must be off the freeway. The three guys in the back seat are passed out or asleep. You had a near-life experience, the mechanic says. He takes one hand off the steering wheel and touches the long welt where my forehead bounced off the steering wheel. My forehead is swelling enough to shut both my eyes, and he runs a cold fingertip down the length of the swelling. The corniche hits a bump, and the pain seems to bump out over my eyes like the shadow from the brim of a cap. Our twisted rear springs and bumper bark and creak in the quiet around our rush down the night road. The mechanic says how the back bumper of the corniche is hanging by its ligaments, how it was torn almost free when it caught an end of the truck's front bumper. I ask, is tonight part of homework for Project Mayhem? Part of it, he says. I had to make 4 human sacrifices, and I have to pick up a load of fat. Fat? For the soap. What is Tyler planning? The mechanic starts talking, and it's pure Tyler Durden. I see the strongest and the smartest men who have ever lived, he says, his face outlined against the stars in the driver's window, and these men are pumping gas and waiting tables. The drop of his forehead, his brow, the slope of his nose, his eyelashes, and the curve of his eyes, the plastic profile of his mouth, talking, these are all outlined in black against the stars. If we could put these men in training camps and finish raising them, all a gun does is focus an explosion in one direction. You have a class of young, strong men and women, and they want to give their lives to something. Advertising has these people chasing cars and clothes they don't need. Generations have been working in jobs they hate, just so they can buy what they don't really need. We don't have a great war in our generation or a great depression, but we have a great war of the spirit. We have a great revolution against the culture. The Great Depression is our lives. We have a spiritual depression. We have to show these men and women freedom by enslaving them, and show them courage by frightening them. Napoleon bragged that he could train men to sacrifice their lives for a scrap of ribbon. Imagine when we call a strike and everyone refuses to work until we redistribute the wealth of the world. Imagine hunting elk through the damp canyon forests around the ruins of Rockefeller Center. What you said about your job, the mechanic says, did you really mean it? Yeah, I meant it. That's why we're on the road tonight, he says. We're a hunting party, and we're hunting for fat. We're going to the medical waste dump. We're going to the medical waste incinerator, and there, among the discarded surgical drapes and wound dressings, and 10-year-old tumors and intravenous tubes and discarded needles, scary stuff, really scary stuff, among the blood samples and amputated tidbits, we'll find more money than we can haul away in one night, even if we were driving a dump truck. We'll find enough money to load this corniche down to the axle stops. Fat, the mechanic says. Liposuctioned fat sucked out of the richest thighs in America. The richest, fattest thighs in the world. Our goal is the big red bags of liposuction fat we'll haul back to Paper Street and render and mix with lye and rosemary and sell back to the very people who paid to have it sucked out. At $20 a bar, these are the only folks who can afford it. The richest, creamiest fat in the world. The fat of the land, he says. That makes tonight a kind of Robin Hood thing. The little wax fires sputter in the carpet. While we're here, he says, we're supposed to look for some of those hepatitis bugs, too. The tears were really coming now, and one fat stripe rolled along the barrel of the gun and down the loop around the trigger to burst flat against my index finger. Raymond Hessel closed both eyes, so I pressed the gun hard against his temple so he would always feel it pressing right there, and I was beside him, and this was his life, and he could be dead at any moment. This wasn't a cheap gun, and I wondered if Salt might fuck it up. Everything had gone so easy, I wondered. I'd done everything the mechanic said to do. This was why we needed to buy a gun. This was doing my homework. We each had to bring Tyler 12 driver's licenses. This would prove we each made 12 human sacrifices. I parked tonight, and I waited around the block for Raymond Hessel to finish his shift at the all-night corner mart, and around midnight he was waiting for a night owl bus when I finally walked up and said, hello. Raymond Hessel? Raymond didn't say anything. Probably he figured I was after his money, his minimum wage, the $14 in his wallet. Aw, Raymond Hessel, all 23 years of you. When you started crying, tears rolling down the barrel of my gun pressed to your temple. No, this wasn't about money. Not everything is about money. You didn't even say hello. You're not your sad little wallet. I said, nice night, cold but clear. You didn't even say hello. I said, don't run, or I have to shoot you in the back. I had the gun out, and I was wearing a latex glove, so if the gun ever became a People's Exhibit A, there'd be nothing on it except the dried tears of Raymond Hessel, Caucasian, age 23, with no distinguishing marks. Then I had your attention. Your eyes were big enough that even in the streetlight I could see they were antifreeze green. You were jerking backward and backward a little more every time the gun touched your face, as if the barrel was too hot or too cold, until I said, don't step back. And then you let the gun touch you. But even then you rolled your head up and away from the barrel. You gave me your wallet like I asked. Your name was Raymond K. Hessel on your driver's license. You live at 1320 Southeast Benning, Apartment A. That had to be a basement apartment. They usually give basement apartments letters instead of numbers. Raymond K. Hessel, I was talking to you. Your head rolled up and away from the gun, and you said, yeah. You said, yes, you lived in a basement. You had some pictures in the wallet, too. There was your mother. This was a tough one for you. You'd have to open your eyes and see the picture of Mom and Dad smiling and see the gun at the same time. But you did, and then your eyes closed and you started to cry. You were going to cool, the amazing miracle of death. 1 minute you're a person, the next minute you're an object, and Mom and Dad would have to call old Dr. Whoever and get your dental records because there wouldn't be much left of your face. And Mom and Dad, they'd always expected so much more from you, and no, life wasn't fair, and now it was come to this. $14. This, I said, is this your mom? Yeah. You were crying, sniffing, crying. You swallowed, yeah. You had a library card. You had a video movie rental card, a Social Security card, $14 cash. I wanted to take the bus pass, but the mechanic said to only take the driver's license. An expired community college student card. You used to study something. You'd worked up a pretty intense cry at this point, so I pressed the gun a little harder against your cheek, and you started to step back until I said, don't move, or you're dead right here. Now, what did you study? Where? In college, I said. You have a student card? Oh, you didn't know. Sob, swallow, sniff. Stuff. Biology. Listen now. You're gonna die, Raymond K. Hessel, tonight. You might die in 1 second or in 1 hour. You decide. So lie to me. Tell me the first thing off the top of your head. Make something up. I don't give a shit. I have the gun. Finally, you were listening and coming out of the little tragedy in your head. Fill in the blank. What does Raymond Hessel want to be when he grows up? Go home. You said you just wanted to go home. Please. No shit, I said. But after that, how did you want to spend your life? If you could do anything in the world, make something up. You didn't know. Then you're dead right now, I said. I said, now turn your head. Death to commence in 10, in 9, in 8. A vet, you said. You want to be a vet, a veterinarian. That means animals. You have to go to school for that. It means too much school, you said. You could be in school working your ass off, Raymond Hessel, or you could be dead. You choose. I stuffed your wallet into the back pocket of your jeans, so you really wanted to be an animal doctor. I took the saltwater muzzle of the gun off one cheek and pressed it against the other. Is that what you've always wanted to be, Dr. Raymond K. Hessel? A veterinarian? Yeah. No shit? No. You mean, yeah, no shit, yeah. Okay, I said. And I pressed the wet end of the muzzle to the tip of your chin, and then the tip of your nose, and everywhere I pressed the muzzle, it left a shining wet ring of your tears. So I said, go back to school. If you wake up tomorrow morning, you find a way to get back into school. I pressed the wet end of the gun on each cheek, and then on your chin, and then against your forehead, and left the muzzle pressed there. You might as well be dead right now, I said. I have your license. I know who you are. I know where you live. I'm keeping your license, and I'm going to check on you, Mr. Raymond K. Hessel. In 3 months, and then in 6 months, and then in a year, and if you aren't back in school on your way to becoming a veterinarian, you'll be dead. You didn't say anything. Get out of here, and do your little life, but remember, I'm watching you, Raymond Hessel, and I'd rather kill you than see you working a shit job for just enough money to buy cheese and watch television. Now, I'm going to walk away, so don't turn around. This is what Tyler wants me to do. These are Tyler's words coming out of my mouth. I am Tyler's mouth. I am Tyler's hands. Everybody in Project Mayhem is part of Tyler Durden, and vice versa. Raymond K. Hessel, your dinner is going to taste better than any meal you've ever eaten, and tomorrow will be the most beautiful day of your entire life. You wake up at Sky Harbor International. Set your watch back 2 hours. The shuttle takes me to downtown Phoenix, and every bar I go into, there are guys with stitches around the rim of an eye socket where a good slam packed their face meat against its sharp edge. There are guys with sideways noses, and these guys at the bar see me with the puckered hole in my cheek, and we're an instant family. Tyler hasn't been home for a while. I do my little job. I go airport to airport to look at the cars that people died in. The magic of travel. Tiny life, tiny soaps, the tiny airline seats. Everywhere I travel, I ask about Tyler. In case I find him, the driver's licenses of my 12 human sacrifices are in my pocket. Every bar I walk into, every fucking bar, I see beat-up guys. Every bar, they throw an arm around me and want to buy me a beer. It's like I already know which bars are the Fight Club bars. I ask, have they seen a guy named Tyler Durden? It's stupid to ask if they know about Fight Club. The first rule is you don't talk about Fight Club. But have they seen Tyler Durden? They say, never heard of him, sir. But you might find him in Chicago, sir. It must be the hole in my cheek. Everyone calls me sir. And they wink. You wake up at O'Hare and take the shuttle into Chicago. Set your watch ahead an hour. If you can wake up in a different place, if you can wake up in a different time, why can't you wake up as a different person? Every bar you go into, punched-out guys want to buy you a beer, and no, sir, they've never met this Tyler Durden. And they wink. They've never heard the name before, sir. I ask about Fight Club. Is there a Fight Club around here tonight? No, sir. The second rule of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club. The punched-out guys at the bar shake their heads. Never heard of it, sir. But you might find this Fight Club of yours in Seattle, sir. You wake up at Meigs Field and call Marla to see what's happening on Paper Street. Marla says now all the space monkeys are shaving their heads. Their electric razor gets hot, and now the whole house smells like singed hair. The space monkeys are using lye to burn off their fingerprints. You wake up at SeaTac. Set your watch back 2 hours. The shuttle takes you to downtown Seattle, and the first bar you go into, the bartender is wearing a neck brace that tilts his head back so far he has to look down his purple, smashed eggplant of a nose to grin at you. The bar is empty, and the bartender says, "Welcome back, sir." I've never been to this bar ever before. I ask if he knows the name Tyler Durden. The bartender grins with his chin stuck out above the top of the white neck brace and asks, "Is this a test?" "Yeah," I say, "it's a test. Has he ever met Tyler Durden?" "You stopped in last week, Mr. Durden," he says. "Don't you remember?" "Tyler was here?" "You were here, sir." "I've never been in here before tonight." "If you say so, sir," the bartender says. "But Thursday night you came in to ask how soon the police were planning to shut us down?" "Last Thursday night I was awake all night with the insomnia, wondering was I awake, was I sleeping? I woke up late Friday morning, bone-tired and feeling I hadn't ever had my eyes closed." "Yes, sir," the bartender says. "Thursday night you were standing right where you are now, and you were asking me about the police crackdown, and you were asking me how many guys we had to turn away from the Wednesday night Fight Club." The bartender twists his shoulders and braced neck to look around the empty bar and says,
There's nobody that's going to hear, Mr. Durden, sir. We had a 27-count turnaway last night. The place is always empty the night after Fight Club. Every bar I've walked into this week, everybody's called me sir. Every bar I go into, the beat-up Fight Club guys all start to look alike. How can a stranger know who I am? You have a birthmark, Mr. Durden, the bartender says, on your foot. It's shaped like a dark red Australia with New Zealand next to it. Only Marla knows this. Marla and my father, not even Tyler knows this. When I go to the beach, I sit with that foot tucked under me. The cancer I don't have is everywhere now. Everybody in Project Mayhem knows, Mr. Durden. The bartender holds up his hand, the back of his hand toward me. A kiss burned into the back of his hand. My kiss? Tyler's kiss. Everybody knows about the birthmark, the bartender says. It's part of the legend. You're turning into a fucking legend, man. I call Marla from my Seattle motel room to ask if we've ever done it. You know, long distance, Marla says. What? Slept together? What? Have I ever, had sex with her? Christ! Well, she says. Have we ever had sex? You are such a piece of shit. Have we had sex? I could kill you. Is that a yes or a no? I knew this would happen, Marla says. You're such a flake. You love me, you ignore me, you save my life, then you cook my mother into soap. I pinch myself. I ask Marla how we met. In that testicle cancer thing, Marla says. Then you saved my life? I saved her life? You saved my life. Tyler saved her life. You saved my life. I stick my finger through the hole in my cheek and wiggle the finger around. This should be good for enough major league pain to wake me up. Marla says, you saved my life. The Regent Hotel. I'd accidentally attempted suicide, remember? Ah. That night, Marla says, I said I wanted to have your abortion. We've just lost cabin pressure. I ask Marla what my name is. We're all gonna die. Marla says, Tyler Durden. Your name is Tyler Butt Wipe for Brains Durden. You live at 5123 Northeast Paper Street, which is currently teeming with your little disciples shaving their heads and burning their skin off with lye. I've got to get some sleep. You've got to get your ass back here, Marla yells over the phone, before those little trolls make soap out of me. I've got to find Tyler. The scar on her hand, I ask Marla, how did she get it? You, Marla says, you kissed my hand. I've got to find Tyler. I've got to get some sleep. I've got to sleep. I've got to go to sleep. I tell Marla good night, and Marla's screaming is smaller, 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 gone, as I reach over and hang up the phone. All night long, your thoughts are on the air. Am I sleeping? Have I slept at all? This is the insomnia. Try to relax a little more with every breath out, but your heart's still racing and your thoughts tornado in your head. Nothing works. Not guided meditation. You're in Ireland. Not counting sheep. You count up the days, hours, minutes since you can remember falling asleep. Your doctor laughed. Nobody ever died from lack of sleep. The old bruised fruit way your face looks, you'd think you were dead. After 3 o'clock in the morning in a motel bed in Seattle, it's too late for you to find a cancer support group. Too late to find some little blue amytal sodium capsules or lipstick red Secanols, the whole Valley of the Dolls playset. After 3 in the morning, you can't get into a fight club. You've got to find Tyler. You've got to get some sleep. Then you're awake, and Tyler's standing in the dark next to the bed. You wake up. The moment you were falling asleep, Tyler was standing there saying, "Wake up, wake up. We solved the problem with the police here in Seattle. Wake up." The police commissioner wanted a crackdown on what he called gang-type activity in after-hours boxing clubs. But not to worry, Tyler says. Mr. Police Commissioner shouldn't be a problem. Tyler says. We have him by the balls now. I ask if Tyler's been following me. Funny, Tyler says. I wanted to ask you the same thing. You talked about me to other people, you little shit. You broke your promise. Tyler was wondering when I'd figure him out. Every time you fall asleep, Tyler says, I run off and do something wild, something crazy, something completely out of my mind. Tyler kneels down next to the bed and whispers, Last Thursday you fell asleep, and I took a plane to Seattle for a little Fight Club look-see. To check the turnaway numbers, that sort of thing. Look for new talent. We have Project Mayhem in Seattle, too. Tyler's fingertip traces the swelling along my eyebrows. We have Project Mayhem in Los Angeles and Detroit, a big Project Mayhem going on in Washington, D.C., in New York. We have Project Mayhem in Chicago like you would not believe. Tyler says, I can't believe you broke your promise. The first rule is you don't talk about Fight Club. He was in Seattle last week when a bartender in a neck brace told him that the police were going to crack down on fight clubs. The police commissioner himself wanted it special. What it is, Tyler says, is we have police who come to fight at Fight Club and really like it. We have newspaper reporters and law clerks and lawyers, and we know everything before it's going to happen. We were going to be shut down? At least in Seattle, Tyler says. I ask, what did Tyler do about it? What did we do about it, Tyler says. We called an assault committee meeting. There isn't a me and a you anymore, Tyler says, and he pinches the end of my nose. I think you figured that out. We both used the same body, but at different times. We called a special homework assignment, Tyler says. We said, bring me the steaming testicles of his esteemed honor, Seattle Police Commissioner whoever. I'm not dreaming. Yes, Tyler says, you are. We put together a team of 14 space monkeys, and 5 of these space monkeys were police, and we were every person in the park where His Honor walks his dog tonight. Don't worry, Tyler says. The dog is all right. The whole attack took 3 minutes less than our best run-through. We'd projected 12 minutes. Our best run-through was 9 minutes. We have 5 space monkeys hold him down. Tyler's telling me this, but somehow I already know it. 3 space monkeys were on lookout. 1 space monkey did the ether. 1 space monkey tugged down his esteemed sweatpants. The dog is a spaniel, and it's just barking, 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 and barking, barking, and barking. 1 space monkey wrapped the rubber band 3 times until it was tight around the top of his esteemed sack. 1 monkey's between his legs with a knife, Tyler whispers with his punched-out face by my ear. And I'm whispering in his most esteemed police commissioner's ear that he better stop the Fight Club crackdown, or we'll tell the world that his esteemed honor does not have any balls. Tyler whispers, How far do you think you'll get, Your Honor? The rubber band is cutting off any feeling down there. How far do you think you'll get in politics if the voters know you have no nuts? By now, His Honor has lost all feeling. Man, his nuts are ice cold. If even 1 fight club has to close, we'll send his nuts east and west. 1 goes to the New York Times and 1 goes to the Los Angeles Times. 1 to each. Sort of press release style. The space monkey took the ether rag off his mouth, and the commissioner said, Don't. And Tyler said, We have nothing to lose except Fight Club. The commissioner, he had everything. All we were left was the shit and the trash of the world. Tyler nodded to the space monkey with a knife between the commissioner's legs. Tyler asked, Imagine the rest of your life with your bag flapping empty. The commissioner said no, and don't. Stop, please. Oh, God, help me, help, no, me, God, me, stop, them. And the space monkey slips the knife in and only cuts off the rubber band. 6 minutes total, and we were done. Remember this, Tyler said. The people you're trying to step on, we're everyone you depend on. We're the people who do your laundry and cook your food and serve your dinner. We make your bed. We guard you while you're asleep. We drive the ambulances. We direct your call. We are cooks and taxi drivers, and we know everything about you. We process your insurance claims and credit card charges. We control every part of your life. We are the middle children of history, raised by television to believe that someday we'll be millionaires and movie stars and rock stars, but we won't. And we're just learning this fact, Tyler said. So don't fuck with us. The space monkey had to press the ether down hard on the commissioner, sobbing, and put him all the way out. Another team dressed him and took him and his dog home. After that, the secret was up to him to keep. And no, we didn't expect any more Fight Club crackdown. His esteemed honor went home scared, but intact. Every time we do these little homework assignments, Tyler says, these Fight Club men with nothing to lose are a little more invested in Project Mayhem. Tyler, kneeling next to my bed, says, "Close your eyes and give me your hand." I close my eyes and Tyler takes my hand. I feel Tyler's lips against the scar of his kiss. "I said that if you talked about me behind my back, you'd never see me again," Tyler said. "We're not two separate men. Long story short, when you're awake, you have the control, and you can call yourself anything you want. But the second you fall asleep, I take over, and you become Tyler Durden." "But we fought," I say, "the night we invented Fight Club." "You weren't really fighting me," Tyler says. "You said so yourself. You were fighting everything you hate in your life." "But I can see you." "You're asleep." "But you're renting a house. You held a job, 2 jobs. Tyler says, "Order your canceled checks from the bank. I rented the house in your name. I think you'll find the handwriting on the rent checks matches the notes you've been typing for me." Tyler's been spending my money. It's no wonder I'm always overdrawn. "And the jobs, well, why do you think you're so tired? Geez, it's not insomnia. As soon as you fall asleep, I take over and go to work or Fight Club or whatever. You're lucky I didn't get a job as a snake handler." I say, "But what about Marla?" "Marla loves you." "Marla loves you?" "Marla doesn't know the difference between you and me. You gave her a fake name the night you met. You never gave your real name in a support group, you inauthentic shit. Since I saved her life, Marla thinks your name is Tyler Durden." "So now that I know about Tyler, will he just disappear?" "No," Tyler says, still holding my hand. "I wouldn't be here in the first place if you didn't want me. I'll still live my life while you're asleep, but if you fuck with me, if you chain yourself to the bed at night or take big doses of sleeping pills, then we'll be enemies, and I'll get you for it." Oh, this is bullshit. This is a dream. Tyler is a projection. He's a dissociative personality disorder, a psychogenic fugue state. Tyler Durden is my hallucination. "Fuck that shit," Tyler says. "Maybe you're my schizophrenic hallucination. I was here first." Tyler says, Yeah. Well, let's just see who's here last. This isn't real. This is a dream, and I'll wake up. Then wake up. And then the telephone's ringing, and Tyler is gone. Sun is coming through the curtains. It's my 7 a.m. wake-up call, and when I pick up the receiver, the line is dead. Fast forward. I fly back home to Marla and the Paper Street Soap Company. Everything is still falling apart. At home, I'm too scared to look in the fridge. Picture dozens of little plastic sandwich bags labeled with cities like Las Vegas and Chicago and Milwaukee, where Tyler had to make good his threats to protect chapters of Fight Club. Inside each bag would be a pair of messy tidbits, frozen solid. In one corner of the kitchen, a space monkey squats on the cracked linoleum and studies himself in a hand mirror. "I am the all-singing, all-dancing crap of this world," the space monkey tells the mirror. "I am the toxic waste byproduct of God's creation." Other space monkeys move around in the garden, picking things, killing things. With one hand on the freezer door, I take a big breath and try to center my enlightened spiritual entity. Raindrops on roses, happy Disney animals. This makes my parts hurt. The freezer's open an inch when Marla peers over my shoulder and says, "What's for dinner?" The space monkey looks at himself squatting in his hand mirror. "I am the shit and infectious human waste of creation." Full circle. About a month ago, I was afraid to let Marla look in the fridge. Now I'm afraid to look in the fridge myself. Oh, God, Tyler. Marla loves me. Marla doesn't know the difference. "I'm glad you're back," Marla says. "We have to talk." "Oh, yeah," I say. "We have to talk." I can't bring myself to open the freezer. I am Joe's shrinking groin. I tell Marla, don't touch anything in this freezer. Don't even open it. If you ever find anything inside it, don't eat them or feed them to a cat or anything. The space monkey with a hand mirror is eyeing us, so I tell Marla we have to leave. We need to be someplace else to have this talk. Down the basement stairs, one space monkey is reading to the other space monkey. The 3 ways to make napalm. 1, you can mix equal parts of gasoline and frozen orange juice concentrate. The space monkey in the basement reads. 2, you can mix equal parts of gasoline and Diet Cola. 3, you can dissolve crumbled cat litter in gasoline until the mixture is thick. Marla and I, we mass transit from the Paper Street Soap Company to a window booth at the Planet Denny's, the Orange Planet. This was something Tyler talked about, how since England did all the exploration and built colonies and made maps, most of the places in geography have those second-hand sort of English names. The English got to name everything, or almost everything. Like Ireland, New London, Australia, New London, India, New London, Idaho, New York, New York. Fast forward to the future. This way, when deep space exploitation ramps up, it will probably be the megatonic corporations that discover all the new planets and map them. The IBM Stellar Sphere, the Philip Morris Galaxy, Planet Denny's. Every planet will take on the corporate identity of whoever rapes it first. Budweiser World. Our waiter has a big goose egg on his forehead and stands ramrod straight, heels together. Sir, our waiter says. Would you like to order now, sir? He says. Anything you order is free of charge, sir. You can imagine you smell urine in everybody's soup. 2 coffees, please. Marla asks, why is he giving us free food? The waiter thinks I'm Tyler Durden, I say. In that case, Marla orders fried clams and clam chowder and a fish basket and fried chicken and a baked potato with everything and a chocolate chiffon pie. Through the pass-through window into the kitchen, 3 line cooks, one with stitches along his upper lip, are watching Marla and me and whispering with their 3 bruised heads together. I tell the waiter, give us clean food, please. Please don't be doing any trash to the stuff we order. In that case, sir, our waiter says, may I advise against the lady here eating the clam chowder? Thank you. No clam chowder. Marla looks at me and I tell her, trust me. The waiter turns on his heel and marches our order back to the kitchen. Through the kitchen pass-through window, the 3 line cooks give me the thumbs up. Marla says, you get some nice perks being Tyler Durden. From now on, I tell Marla, she has to follow me everywhere at night and write down everywhere I go. Who do I see? Do I castrate anyone important? That sort of detail. I take out my wallet and show Marla my driver's license with my real name, not Tyler Durden. But everyone knows you're Tyler Durden, Marla says. Everyone but me. Nobody at work calls me Tyler Durden. My boss calls me by my real name. My parents know who I really am. So why, Marla asks, are you Tyler Durden to some people but not to everybody? The first time I met Tyler, I was asleep. I was tired and crazy and rushed, and every time I boarded a plane, I wanted the plane to crash. I envied people dying of cancer. I hated my life. I was tired and bored with my job and my furniture, and I couldn't see any way to change things. Only end them. I felt trapped. I was too complete. I was too perfect. I wanted a way out of my tiny life. Single-serving butter and cramped airline seat roll in the world. Swedish furniture. Clever art. I took a vacation. I fell asleep on the beach, and when I woke up, there was Tyler Durden. Naked and sweating, gritty with sand, his hair wet and stringy, hanging in his face. Tyler was pulling driftwood logs out of the surf and dragging them up the beach. What Tyler had created was the shadow of a giant hand, and Tyler was sitting in the palm of a perfection he'd made himself. And a moment was the most you could ever expect from perfection. Maybe I never really woke up on that beach. Maybe all this started when I peed on the Blarney Stone. When I fall asleep, I don't really sleep. At other tables in Planet Denny's, I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys with black cheekbones or folded-down noses smiling at me. No, Marla says, you don't sleep. Tyler Durden is a separate personality I've created, and now he's threatening to take over my real life. Just like Tony Perkins' mother in Psycho, Marla says. This is so cool. Everybody has their little quirks. One time, I dated a guy who couldn't get enough body piercings. My point being, I say, I fall asleep and Tyler is running off with my body and punched-out face to commit some crime. The next morning, I wake up bone-tired and beat up, and I'm sure I haven't slept at all. The next night, I'd go to bed earlier. That next night, Tyler would be in charge a little longer. Every night that I go to bed earlier and earlier, Tyler will be in charge longer and longer. But you are Tyler, Marla says. No, I'm not. I love everything about Tyler Durden. His courage and his smarts, his nerve. Tyler is funny and charming and forceful and independent, and men look up to him and expect him to change their world. Tyler is capable and free, and I am not. I'm not Tyler Durden. But you are Tyler, Marla says. Tyler and I share the same body, and until now I didn't know it. Whenever Tyler was having sex with Marla, I was asleep. Tyler was walking and talking while I thought I was asleep. Everyone in Fight Club and Project Mayhem knew me as Tyler Durden, and if I went to bed earlier every night and I slept later every morning, eventually I'd be gone altogether. I'd just go to sleep and never wake up. Marla says, just like the animals at the animal control place. Valley of the Dogs, where even if they don't kill you, if someone loves you enough to take you home, they still castrate you. I would never wake up, and Tyler would take over. The waiter brings the coffee and clicks his heels and leaves. I smell my coffee. It smells like coffee. So, Marla says, even if I did believe all this, what do you want from me? So Tyler can't take complete control. I need Marla to keep me awake, all the time. Full circle. The night Tyler saved her life, Marla asked him to keep her awake all night. The second I fall asleep, Tyler takes over and something terrible will happen. And if I do fall asleep, Marla has to keep track of Tyler, where he goes, what he does, so maybe during the day I can rush around and undo the damage. His name is Robert Paulson, and he is 48 years old. His name is Robert Paulson, and Robert Paulson will be 48 years old forever. On a long enough timeline, everyone's survival rate drops to 0. Big Bob. The big cheese bread, the big Moosey was on a regulation chill and drill homework assignment. This was how Tyler got into my condominium to blow it up with homemade dynamite. You take a spray canister of refrigerant, R12 if you can still get it, what with the ozone hole and everything, or R134A, and you spray it into the lock cylinder until the works are frozen. On a chill and drill assignment, you spray the lock on a pay telephone or a parking meter or a newspaper box. Then you use a hammer and a cold chisel to shatter the frozen lock cylinder. On a regulation drill and fill homework assignment, you drill the phone or the automatic bank teller machine, then you screw a lube fitting into the hole and use a grease gun to pump your target full of axle grease or vanilla pudding or plastic cement. It's not that Project Mayhem needed to steal a handful of change. The Paper Street Soap Company was backlogged on filling orders. God help us when the holidays came around. Homework is to build your nerve. You need some cunning. Build your investment in Project Mayhem. Instead of a cold chisel, you can use an electric drill on the frozen lock cylinder. This works just as well, and it's more quiet. It was a cordless electric drill that the police thought was a gun when they blew Big Bob away. There was nothing to tie Big Bob to Project Mayhem or Fight Club or the soap. In his pocket was a wallet photo of himself, huge and naked at first glance, in a posing strap at some contest. "It's a stupid way to live," Bob said. "You're blind from the stage lights and deaf from the feedback rush of the sound system until the judge will order, 'Extend your right quad, flex, and hold. Put your hands where we can see them. Extend your left arm, flex the bicep, and hold. Freeze. Drop the weapon.'" This was better than real life. On his hand was a scar from my kiss, from Tyler's kiss. Big Bob's sculpted hair had been shaved off and his fingerprints had been burned off with lye. And it was better to get hurt than get arrested, because if you were arrested, you were off Project Mayhem. No more homework assignments. 1 minute, Robert Paulson was the warm center that the life of the world crowded around, and the next moment, Robert Paulson was an object, After the police shot, the amazing miracle of death. In every fight club tonight, the chapter leader walks around in the darkness outside the crowd of men who stare at each other across the empty center of every fight club basement. And this voice yells, "His name is Robert Paulson." And the crowd yells, "His name is Robert Paulson." The leaders yell, "He is 48 years old." And the crowd yells, "He is 48 years old." He is 48 years old, and he was part of Fight Club. He is 48 years old, and he was part of Project Mayhem. Only in death will we have our own names, since only in death are we no longer part of the effort. In death, we become heroes. And the crowds yell, "Robert Paulson!" And the crowds yell, "Robert Paulson!" And the crowds yell, "Robert Paulson!" I go to Fight Club tonight to shut it down. I stand in the one light at the center of the room, and the club cheers. To everyone here, I'm Tyler Durden, smart, forceful, gutsy. I hold up my hands for silence and I suggest, why don't we all just call it a night? Go home tonight and forget about Fight Club. I think Fight Club has served its purpose, don't you? Project Mayhem is canceled. I hear there's a good football game on television. 100 men just stare at me. A man is dead, I say. This game is over. It's not for fun anymore. Then, from the darkness outside the crowd, comes the anonymous voice of the chapter leader. The first rule of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club. I yell, "Go home!" The second rule of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club. Fight Club is canceled. Project Mayhem is canceled. The third rule is only two guys to a fight. I am Tyler Durden, I yell, and I'm ordering you to get out. And no one's looking at me. The men just stare at each other across the center of the room. The voice of the chapter leader goes slowly around the room. 2 men to a fight, no shirts, no shoes. The fight goes on and on and on as long as it has to. Picture this happening in 100 cities in a half-dozen languages. The rules end and I'm still standing in the center of the light. "Registered fight number 1, take the floor," yells the voice out of the darkness. "Clear the center of the club." I don't move. "Clear the center of the club." I don't move. The one light reflects out of the darkness in 100 pairs of eyes, all of them focused on me, waiting. I try to see each man the way Tyler would see him. Choose the best fighters for training in Project Mayhem. Which ones would Tyler invite to work at the Paper Street Soap Company? "Clear the center of the club." This is established Fight Club procedure. After 3 requests from the chapter leader, I will be ejected from the club. But I'm Tyler Durden. I invented Fight Club. Fight Club is mine. I wrote those rules. None of you would be here if it wasn't for me, and I say it stops here. Prepare to evict the member in 3, 2, 1. The circle of men collapses in on top of me, and 200 hands clamp around every inch of my arms and legs, and I'm lifted spread eagle toward the light. Prepare to evacuate soul in 5, in 4, 3, 2, 1. And I'm passed overhead, hand to hand, crowd surfing toward the door. I'm floating. I'm flying. I'm yelling. Fight Club is mine. Project Mayhem was my idea. You can't throw me out. I'm in control here. Go home. The voice of the chapter leader yells, "Registered fight number 1, please take the center of the floor, now." I'm not leaving. I'm not giving up. I can beat this. I'm in control here. Evict Fight Club member now. Evacuate soul now. And I fly slowly out the door and into the night with the stars overhead and the cold air, and I settle to the parking lot concrete. All the hands retreat, and a door shuts behind me, and a bolt snaps it locked. In 100 cities, Fight Club goes on without me.